Good evening, guys, and welcome to this episode of the Chat with Marvin Lee. Just waiting for my friend to uh, come on. I think she should be appearing momentarily. This morning. And for whatever reason, it decided that it wanted to die, and I wasn't even using it. So I apologize for that. Uh, the anticipation is killing her, she says. So she should be here momentarily. And I apologize that I have my TV on in the background. Hopefully, you'll pay attention to me, not the TV, and hopefully, I'll pay attention to me, not the TV, um, because I love, 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 love women's basketball, college basketball, and I need LSU to lose this game tonight. So we're gonna see what happens. And they just turned the ball over, which is good. Yes. Anyways, let me turn this TV up so I can pay attention to what I'm doing. Uh, I see Nicole is on Instagram, but I need for you, Nicole, to come on StreamYard, please. The link that I sent. Oh God, I gotta send her the link again. Hold on, love. Hold on. Invite. Copy. Let's do this really quick. She should be with us momentarily. The anticipation of the game tonight is breaking my heart because I can't watch the game, but it's okay. It's okay. It is okay. Let's see. Nicole Avelino 7 Gmail. Okay. She should be joining us here in just a moment. All right. I hope you guys had a phenomenal week last week, and I hope you had a good Easter yesterday. I didn't do a lot, but I did manage to hang out with some really good people at a meeting that I was the chairperson of. Um, so it was a really good day for me. It was just a really good day. And I'm not sure where my vape is, but I really need it right now. And I apologize ahead of time because I'm going to be hitting my vape. Just saying. Um, I'm waiting for my friend to show up. I sent it. There she is. Hi,
I've
Betsy.
I've literally been sitting in that waiting for 12 minutes.
And I literally didn't, I didn't, well, I was driving home from work, so I didn't get here until like just a few minutes ago. And then when I started the session, I forgot that I unplugged the laptop, and apparently I must have left it on today. And so when I got on just now, it was still unplugged, and so it just died. But anyways, I apologize. But hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this episode of The Chop with Marvin Lee. And this week I'm talking to my friend Nicole A, who is also a fellow recovering addict. And um, so we're basically going to be talking tonight. Nicole's going to share with you her story as it relates to addiction and the changes that have taken place in her life since she's made the decision to get clean. So, first off, Nicole, for those that don't know, um, this is my first individual interview with a person in recovery. So you're the first recovery um, interview that I'm doing, and it's
Aww.
funny because you are. A lot of people don't know how close we really are,
Yeah.
um, and a lot of people know that your brother sponsors me, but I knew you well before I knew your brother, whatnot. But I want you to talk a little bit about what life was like for you in using it, and what brought you to the decision to stop.
Oh God. Well, I
And you
mean,
know people love you, just so you know.
eh, I try to love most people back.
Well, as long as you love me, I'm good.
I
We can
love
work,
you.
we can work on everybody else.
Yeah. No, I mean, God, you're talking about how life was using. I mean, it was miserable. Um, I mean, no, it was fun until it wasn't, right?
Mhm.
And I love getting high. So if I could still be getting high and not have to deal with the consequences, I probably would, you know? But I can't. I mean, at the end of the day, I use and I give everything away, you know. I I started using, I feel like kind of late. Like, I mean, I drank a little bit here and there at like maybe 13 or 14, but it wasn't until, and I played soccer my whole life. Like, I had a scholarship for college my junior year. So I wasn't even a senior yet. And I had like three different schools already, interested. And, like, I started like really partying. I want to say that summer my junior year, and I smoked weed. I believe I was like 16 was the first time I smoked weed. And it's fun then. I was with friends, but even that very first time, oh God. I've been sitting here thinking if I should put something in front of this phone. There we go. I remember being so paranoid and like telling my friend, pull the car over, pull it, we're gonna crash, blah blah blah. And they were like, it's fine, you're just high. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like I didn't even think I was high. I was just like, oh, pull over, let me out. I was like, we're gonna die. And I just kept using. I feel like I was always friends with a lot of different people.
Hmm.
Like I want to say like two really core like girlfriends that I was always friends with growing up, but I was always friends with everyone. Like I
Hmm.
knew everyone, but I never really felt like I fit in completely in a whole group.
Hmm.
It's funny, like when I got older, I used with a friend that I went to school with, like elementary and high school, and I used with her, and she was like, you were always like you were so popular, you were best friends. And I was like, no, I wasn't. She was like, yeah, your best friends were so and so and so and so. And I was like, yeah, but they were popular, I wasn't popular. And she was like, yes, you were. Like, so I it was just weird. Like I always kind of felt type delusional, I guess. Like
Hmm.
I, even though they were my best friends, and the
Right.
girl was the most popular girl, and I did not feel like that. I still felt like an outsider. But yeah, so like I could sit, at any, I feel like a lunch table I wanted to. I would always just like change around. And I finally hung out with these one group of people that started partying. That's what I was getting at. And so I started partying with them, and by the end of that summer, um maybe it was, I don't know. Either way, I didn't use very long until like my senior year. I got kicked out of high school
Hmm.
for fighting, and I like went to school messed up from the night before, and got into a fight, and then I like they sent me to rehab. So that was the first time I went to rehab, was when I was 17.
Okay, Nicole, I'm gonna need you to put that box down because you distracted
No, I'm trying to concentrate though.
me. Sweetheart, you got this. I don't know.
No, so
No,
yeah,
because I went.
it was my senior year. So it was, no, I was 17 when I went to rehab the first time, right? And then when I finally came to Florida and got clean, I was 27.
Okay.
So that was a whole, decade, and I was introduced to a fellowship that first 30 days.
Well, before we even get there, because I know you were talking about, and it's, you're right. We all, I know for me, the first time I used drugs, it was weed, and it was like, um, it was just a social thing, right? But then at some point, it moves beyond the social aspect of things, and it becomes something completely different. And I heard you talking about the alcohol and the drugs. So, and I know there's a decade in between that you're talking about, but at what point do you progress to harder drugs? And what were the harder drugs that you progressed to?
Well, so yeah, 18. So that's what I'm saying. From just 17 to 18, from me just doing, uh, you know, smoking weed and drinking and pills. On my 18th birthday was the first time I did heroin.
Okay.
Uh, I was dating a guy, and he lived kind of far from my mom's house where I lived. And my thinking was, okay, I have to go home at some point tonight. I don't want to drive drunk. I was like, so what else can I do? And a guy, one of his friends, had heroin. So my logic was, okay, I'll do this because I can't drink on my
Not
18th
realizing
birthday.
that the heroin's gonna make you nod and you still can't drive.
Yeah, I just remember it very itchy and awake actually that night. I was like, oh, this feels like a Percocet, like times 10, like that's, but that was like my distorted thinking, right? Like, oh, you can't drink and drive, so let's do heroin. Like, what? So
Right.
happy 18th birthday to me.
And so at that point, so that's the first time you use heroin. So at that point, what prompted you? How did you get into using it? Even how did your usage progress from that even?
Um, yeah, I mean it became like an everyday thing,
Hmm.
It wasn't just heroin every day. I would say, I would use anything that was gonna get me high, and it depended on who I was hanging out with at that time or what person I knew to get it from going forward,
Hmm.
I had my daughter at like 20. Yeah, I had her at like 20 and a half. So I did stay clean when I was pregnant with her. I was using until I took the test and I was like, oh crap, I'm pregnant. So I stopped. And, that whole time I couldn't wait to have her so I could get high again. Um, my brother and their dad were using while I'm pregnant. And the whole time I was just waiting those 9 months to use because I didn't know any other way. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, I was just holding out because of that. So it didn't take long. After I had her, I was off to the races.
So let me ask you this: you carry her to term for 9 months. So during that 9 month process, what is it like? Because I want to talk about the thinking for just a minute now, because with a lot of people who use it, no amount of love from a parent or love for a child or just whatever is enough to stop us. But what was it about those 9 months that, and it sounds like, I can hear the insanity. It's like for 9 months, you're nurturing this child, you're carrying this child. So I'm going to be, you know, tip top shape. I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to make sure that I protect this child. So your motherly instinct kicks in at that time. But as you said, as soon as you delivered, as soon as you gave birth, you were off to the races. So from the time that you stopped and realized you were pregnant, you stopped to the time you gave birth. What was your thinking process that entire time? Yes, the motherly instinct kicked in, because two things can be true at one time. The motherly instincts can kick in, but what about the obsession to use? Talk about that for a minute.
Um, I don't really feel like, I mean, I feel like I guess I did have the obsession, but it wasn't as strong. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, I don't think I was super, super like I don't remember going through withdrawal. I don't think you know what I mean? Or maybe I did. It was so long ago. I really don't think I did though. I just like knew was pregnant now. I'm keeping this baby and I don't want to mess her up.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to block it out, but they were always using around me. So like I kind of was just waiting, like
Mm-hmm.
my obsession, I guess, just got down because of like God. Like, I don't know. I never really thought of it. Like, I
Right.
just stopped because I knew I needed to. I probably didn't want to be judged. I wasn't dating their dad for that long. So, like, I don't want to be that person that's using pregnant, like, I'm not that bad. I'm not an addict. I've just been
Mm-hmm.
because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I had been homeless, like, been doing all crazy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it was probably just like the whole denial, like I didn't think I was that bad and I'm like I can do this. Um but yeah, it probably took she was probably like a month old when I finally used smoked PCP.
Mm-hmm. And,
And
and, and we can see the progression. So, what is it now? I know that you have a son too. So, between Aaliyah and Marcus, what is the age difference?
So she just turned 13 and he's about to be 9, so they're like 4 years apart.
So
Um
what was the period in between after Aaliyah is born?
yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's when it got really bad. I mean, I was like it was bad. It was bad. I want to say maybe like a year or two before I had Marcus was like when I was really in it. And when I got pregnant with him, I was like done. I was like full blown only heroin. Like I really was scared to have
mhm,
really, as much as I love him at the time, I was like, I don't want to do this,
mhm,
but I also like loved their dad. So I was like, well, we already are in this family dynamic and okay, we're going to make it work. But I'm like,
mhm.
how is this going to work because I'm addicted? Like I already knew that at that point. Um so yeah, it was tough. I used with him. I tried to like a limit my using, like okay, you can only do 3 bags a day or
Mhm,
just try to do 2 a day. um,
mhm.
it was bad.
And this is something that a lot of people who don't use don't understand is that in the mind of an addict, we go through this process of trying to convince ourselves, and you've spoken to this a little bit. We go through this process of I'm not that bad. Or I'm gonna do this much, and when I do this much, I'm gonna stop. And it's well intentioned in the moment when we're saying that, or when we're thinking it, or I'm not gonna do anything during the week. I'm gonna wait until Friday and Saturday, and maybe Sunday. I'm gonna do a little bit. I'll stop on Sunday. That's how we think in our minds. But then at the end of the day, it's like it's Friday or it's Thursday when I'm planning this, and the next thing I know from that point, it is now the following Thursday. And I'm asking myself, how did I get here?
Yeah. Oh, I don't even think I thought about the days.
Yeah, it can be. Ooh,
Raining. Oh, it's raining, I gotta use. Oh, it's snowing, I
right.
gotta use. It's Tuesday, I gotta use. I woke up, I gotta use.
Mhm.
I woke up, I gotta use.
And that was when the compulsion, and I know, I don't know if it was like, I'm sure it was like this for you, but that compulsion, there were days I would use, and I was like, knowing that I didn't want to use, but it was the want
Yeah,
to.
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I know I've had those days, but like you're sick. At that point, you have to. And then when I
Mhm,
was pregnant with Marcus, like I kind of had to, right? Like I didn't want to. My whole will and being did not want to, but I could not stop. And then at a certain point, you're like, I can't just stop because then it could harm him even more. So my thinking was, okay, maybe just do a little. Okay, I'm not doing a bundle a day. Now I'm just going to do 2 or 3 a day. And that's like the rationalization and the justification and all the
mhm,
craziness that we spin in our head. I like avoided doctor's appointments because I
mhm.
knew they were going to drug test me. Like it was insane.
So,
Luckily, I kept him in the hospital for 3 days, to like keep him supervised, and he was fine. Like, if family wanted to come and see him, I lied and I said, "Oh, he has jaundice. He has to be under the light, so that's why he's in the other room. I don't really want anyone to see me." It's not like I was seeing family like that anyway. At that point, I was very just isolated
mhm.
to begin with, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So, let me see. That was 2015 when I had him, and I came out here in 2017. So, yeah.
So when you came here, and because a lot of people don't get this, and we get a lot of flack as addicts to have responsibilities, and which a lot of people don't understand. Yes, I know I have a responsibility in terms of having children, but if I don't get myself clean, I'm gonna be of no good to these children anyway. So what was your process like of having to actually leave your children behind to seek? Because I'm assuming at this point is when you sought out help again.
Well, yeah. So I wound up getting, eventually, I wound up getting sick. Um, like in my arm, I got cellulitis and abscess, and I went to the hospital, the
Hmm.
same hospital that I had my 2 kids. And obviously, that's from shooting up. So they reported me. Um, I went there on like a Tuesday, and I left that Friday because it was my 27th birthday. So that was the 18th. And I found my way home. I was maybe there like 10 minutes, and Dyfus was knocking on my door, saying, you have to be supervised with them, blah blah blah. Their dad's mom came, got them, and when that door shut and they were gone, like, I was just done. I was already so sick. I was already on 3 days of withdrawing. I was already waiting for the dope man to come. But then that lady showed up, right? And I'm just like, I'm gonna die, right? Like, eh, I'm already bad and I was trying to hold it together, right? Because I had them. Without them, I would have been dead,
Right.
right? So, luckily, I had seen my brother the Christmas before, and he was clean. And I had actually tried a month after I saw him in February. I came out here for 20 days. I didn't listen to anyone. I cursed everyone out, and I came back and I used until that happened in August, right? So then, I they left and I used, and then I called my brother and I was like, they just took the kids. I'm like, I need help or I'm gonna die. And then I flew out here the next day, like, and I know, like, 1,000, there's no doubt in my mind, right? Like, I would have still been using, or I would have died, or I
Right.
would have went to jail because I had like court stuff pending.
Hmm.
So it would have just got worse. It wouldn't have got better. I would have never figured it out on my
Right.
own.
Take us inside that conversation with your brother. What was that conversation like? Now, see, I have the privilege and the good fortune of knowing who your brother is, so I can almost imagine, how it played out. But take us. What was your mindset in having to have that conversation with him? What was your thought process? How were you feeling? How did he respond? How did that go down?
Um, I mean, I had just used. I He had just called me, and I was about to use, and I remember thinking like, okay, I have 3 days. Maybe I can do this, you know. Um, So something must have clicked them previous months back. And I was like, I'm on day 3. Maybe I can do this. But like, also, I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it. Right. And like, I already had stuff. Um, so he called me and I was like, I should answer. And I was like, no, I'm going to use. So then I used, and then I called him. And I just remember saying like, yeah, they just took the kids. Like, I need help. And he was just like, okay, are you serious? Like, all right, like, you really want to come? You know what I mean? Like, I don't really remember specifically what he said, but like, it was kind of just that simple. Like, he was just like, okay. Like, and then we also had, my kid's dad came as well. So he was like, okay, I'll figure it out. He wants to come too. And I was like, yeah, both of us will come, and then his mom drove us to the airport the next day, like, and then I was in rehab and we went to different rehabs. Like,
Right.
it
So
happened that fast.
at this point, and even while you were describing the conversation with your brother, I mean, I kind of in my head already knew that's how it went because, again, I have the good fortune of knowing him on a more personal level because he is my sponsor,
Yeah.
uh, and I know how he is, and I know the convictions that he has. I know him. He knows me, or whatever. So I knew there would be no judgment there. But so this time when you come to rehab. It is this how long were you there? What was that process like? And once you were discharged from that rehab, what was your process like?
So I detoxed in the rehab. Like, I didn't go. I remember this. I remember him saying, I can't get you into a detox right now. And
Hmm.
he was like, I know you're going to be sick as hell, because my brother, mind you, previous years was using with me, so had already been through it, right? So he knew I was gonna be sick as hell. And he was like, I can't get you into a detox right now. He's like, but I can get you in PHP, which is like, the 30-day program. Usually with certain drugs, you'll go to a detox for say a week to 10 days, which is what I did this time around. But that time back in 2017, I detoxed in the PHP. So I was very sick. I remember thinking like, oh my God, all these girls are in shorts and a tank top, and I was bundled up, sweating in a blanket and a hoodie, like can't get warm, can't get like it was so bad, you know? And I remember the one director guy kept saying like he would always just tell people like you're an addict, you're an addict. For some reason that really like, and then he would come to me and be like, yeah, you're definitely an addict. And then I guess it just finally like made me start questioning like, oh, I am an addict. Like, even because I guess, we have them weird things like, oh, I'm not on the corner begging for money and or this and that, but
You're not
like
eating out of
mine
a
too,
garbage
I
can.
had never had a job. I'm living
Yeah.
off of welfare. Like I have Section 8, like I'm not paying no bills. Like I only have that roof over my head because I manipulated into getting it,
Mhm.
like from being in a shelter and like so yeah, like you just judge and be like, "Oh, I'm not like those people. I'm not like, you know what I mean?" So yeah, like something just finally clicked that I was like, "Oh, I'm an addict. Like why is he saying I'm an addict?" But yeah, I was sick as hell. I was in there for like I think 40 days or something, like the usual. I think they kept me for like 40 days.
Mhm.
And then yeah, and then I went to halfway, and I just listened and I jumped right in,
Right.
like I went to a halfway, did meetings, got a sponsor. Like they introduced me to my sponsor. They were like, "Hey, we know this guy's girlfriend at the time is getting a medallion at this meeting. She would be good for her. Like go to that meeting." So they kind of just like threw me into it, and I was
Mhm.
just so broken at that time that I was going to listen to anything that they told me.
Mhm. Mhm. So, at that point that you said to yourself, when the director says that you're definitely an addict, and you say it kind of hit you, at that moment, um, in rehab, and you make that admission for yourself, what was that actually like for you? Is that why you decided that, hey, I'm going to go to halfway, I'm going to start listening to people, I'm going to go to meetings, I'm going to get a sponsor, I'm going to do all these things that they tell me to do? Like, what was it? Was that your defining moment up to
I
that
don't think I
point?
wouldn't say I don't think there was like one defining moment. Because I went through a lot of shit my first year clean in that year. Um, you know, uh I still had that house, so I had that. Like I wound up like letting that just go. I had the kid's grandmom go in there and get certain things, and she put it in her storage. But like I was like, just take it. I had to surrender at multiple steps, right? Like I had
Mhm.
to surrender in that rehab and be like, okay, just for today, I'm not gonna leave this place because in my head, I'm like, okay, they flew me back the last time we'll say 6 months ago,
Mhm. Mhm.
like so I could have probably like I was just so broken, so it was definitely a bunch of surrender. Like there wasn't like one specific thing, you know what I mean? But I feel like him saying that like, oh, you're an addict, it definitely started making them questions like come into my head, or coming to some type of realizations like how I'm living isn't normal. Whether this has been my normal, yes, for a decade, and that's my perception, and this has been my reality of normal,
Mhm.
this doesn't have to be normal, right? Like all of a sudden I'm like, wow, there is other people that have used and they're not using,
Mhm.
so it was just
So,
like mind blowing.
and there's something that you just said, and I like how you said this. It was, there was not one specific defining moment, but there were small surrenders or small things that you had to do, like step by step. And
Yeah.
talk about that just a little bit more in depth, just in case there's somebody watching who's listening that may be struggling trying to get clean, and somebody that is clean and that's still having the thoughts or whatever the case may be. What is that like now on a daily basis for you in terms of, because some of us do we lose that desire to use. Some of us get it instantaneously, but some of us don't. Um,
Yeah.
so what is your experience with that? What allows Nicole on a daily basis to be able to keep doing the things that Nicole needs to do to make sure that Nicole doesn't go back where she came from?
Well, I have my own experience now, and I have my own living proof. Before it was just the whole like hope shot, right? Like that's the whole second step is hope and faith, which I just had to blindly. My brother was a big part, right? Because I use with my brother, like I said. And then he's clean.
Mm-hmm.
So like that was like a major part for me because I'm like, okay, he's actually doing it. He's clean. He has a job. Wow, he has a fucking car because when he left, he didn't have a car. He didn't have a job. Like it was just it was just like having to go on a one, two, and three.
Right.
Like surrender, hope, and faith, and just blindly doing it because at like I said, at the end of the day, I was just so broken. Like there wasn't like the whole surrender thing, like, and like you said about the obsession and compulsion, s- some people, like you said, it just goes away like that, and they're like, no, I had to like daily, like, okay, I'm not going to use today, and then when them moments get hard, like, I'm not going to use for the next 10 minutes. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. I'm not going to use for the next 20 minutes. Okay, it's I'm not going to use for this hour. And then I'm going to go to this meeting. And then probably after the meeting, I'd feel a little bit better. And then all of a sudden, it's the next day.
Right.
Like it was literally like I would have to maybe like keep it that simple, you
Right.
know? And this time around getting clean, I already had been clean. So I had at that point definitely my own like experience and hope. But that first time around, it was just God.
Right. And
Wrapping
that's where
arms
I was gonna
around
go
me,
next.
like it was literally a higher power.
Right. And this is funny. I mean, it's weird that I'm interviewing you first because I know you, so I know your story. So I want to ask the questions in such a way that I don't like I'm not answering your question before I
Yeah,
ask
no,
the
you're
question
okay.
because obviously I know the answers. So the first time you went to rehab and then you quit, how much have you been clean the entire time? Like in other
What do you
words, when you went to rehab, have you been clean the entire time you've been here? Have you struggled? Have you slipped up? Have you had
Oh
any?
yeah, yeah. So you're saying since I came out here in 2017.
Yes.
Yeah, no. So yeah, I relapsed. I had almost 3 years
Yeah.
relapsed
And
and
that's when we
then
met.
used.
When I had
Yeah.
5 months, and so we've been together
Yeah.
four and a
So
half years.
yeah, because you had 5 months when we met, and I had 2 years. So yeah, and you
Mhm.
just
And
celebrated
that's like
five.
that same hope that you were talking about, when you got here the first time, it's like, I'm just going to do this just for today or the next 10 minutes or just whatever. Well, see, with me, it was just a little different because, when I made that decision in March of 2019, when I made that decision, I made that decision. Like, I was just like, I'm I always say my recovery is determined by how determined I am to recover. And I noticed that, I pay attention even then and more so now to how things began to align. It's like I've always trusted God that God knew who I needed and what I needed to be in my life to reach the goals that I had set for myself, right? So I will meet people like you, and it's like every day, like because you had the car at the time. Remember, I was catching the bus, and we're gonna talk about this in a little bit too. And I just remember the hope that I had. I know people now that get clean. It's like the new wave of recovering addicts that come through. It's like they depend on people that they know have cars or got some time or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like you got to understand me. So it's like almost you're enabling them and
Yeah,
developing
I kind of think it's
empathy.
very unfortunate.
Yeah, it's like, baby, I
And
caught
it's
that
not like
bus.
I've been clean that much longer or been around that much longer. But
Right.
when I got clean, like I walked
Or
and
caught the
found it
bus.
and I walked and found a job. No, I walked to find a job, and then I walked to work, and I walked to meetings. And I
Hmm.
remember I was just recently telling somebody like, okay, my weekly halfway rent was 170. My paycheck was $200. So I'm left with $30, Marvin. $20 went to cigarettes. I remember the first 3 weeks that I got paid, I saved $10 for 3 weeks to get a $30 to buy a bus pass. Then I was able to take the bus to work. That's just, but I also have always been super determined, right? Like going back to when I grew up playing soccer and playing sports, I was always like, if I put my mind to something, I can do it, right? And same with using. If there's a will, there's a fucking way.
Yeah.
Like, so I just took that and flipped it. Like I was like, I don't know no one out here, and like ain't nobody else gonna do it but me. Like, and I
Mhm.
took the bus to get high. Like, so okay,
I
I'm gonna
mean,
take the bus.
the things that I did to get high, we're not even
Right,
gonna talk about that, but I think that, the more that we are able to be self-sufficient and do things like catching the bus or saving the
right,
money to buy a bus pass, those are estimable acts, whether we realize it or not in that moment, which is why
yeah,
it's important to have somebody that has a little bit of time clean to point those things out to us, because I'm starting to slowly but surely feel better about myself. And I noticed that over time, after I had done these things for a period of time, and there were people who saw me, then there were people that began to like, you need a ride here, you want to go, I'm going here, you want to go to this meeting. Like
right,
I didn't have to catch the bus so much, but I never relied on that solely, because I was like, no, this is my hustle, this is my grind. I bet you if I wanted to get some drugs, I bet you I'd find a way to get there. I don't care how I had to get there. I bet you I'll find a way. You know,
right.
and so I'm grateful for that process. But I'm grateful that I had people like you, that early on, like, cause you moved me from one of the halfways I was in. The last halfway that I went to before Right Way, or excuse me, I don't know if I was supposed to say that. The, the one particular halfway that I went to before I went to the last one that I moved out of that I loved so much, uh, you took me to that halfway. I remember
I was gonna
getting there.
say, I
It's
think
like,
I moved you more than that time.
you did, yeah, you did, yeah, you actually did. You moved, yeah, you did. But see, that's what I'm talking about. It's like the connections that I started. Like I've never, from the time that I made the decision to get clean. Now, have my 5 years been struggle free? Absolutely not. And I still struggle now. But the thing that I've come to understand is I've learned how to persevere.
Right.
I've learned that the beauty is in the struggle. I mean, this process, like I just have decided that I have this resolve that no matter what, it takes me back to that original prayer of desperation. God, if you deliver me from this darkness, I promise I'll follow you. Even if it means somebody's not going to give me a ride to a meeting, even if it means I have to walk to a meeting, even if it means I have to catch a bus, even if it means I have to, I might end up losing a job, I might get evicted, I might lose a car, I might lose
Right.
this, I might lose that. At the end of the day, I got to come back to that prayer and that promise, and I got to stay true to that. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and I definitely think like our serenity prayer and our third step prayer definitely was like my prayers. Like I
mhm,
didn't really pray before that. I mean, I grew up in a religion as a kid, and once like eighth grade hit, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore, So like, I mean, I have my own understanding of my higher power, right? But
mhm.
like, yeah, I definitely like said those over and over again. Definitely the third step prayer, like just take my will. Like I started breaking it down, like what we are actually saying, because when you think about it, like, yeah, my will got me in this mess. So take my will and like guide me, like I don't want to live like because my thinking is messed up.
Right.
My 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 thought is wrong.
Well, I say all the time, my best thinking is my worst enemy, and I simplify the third step prayer even more than you. It's like, take my will, because this is what I
Yeah,
want to do. Now, if I'm left in my own head with all those multiple personalities that I've given names to up there,
we
if,
have
if
named them, both
you
of
know what I'm
us.
saying, it's like I need somebody that knows me better than I know myself. Because if I'm left to myself with the itty bitty committee in my head, my will is gonna be jacked up. Love you,
Yeah,
Mutesi. My will is gonna be jacked up, right? So I need somebody that's gonna talk me. I need the voice of reason because I got some voices of irrationality going on. So
yeah,
having people like your brother, having other people around, and you know what? And for me, it even goes outside of people in the fellowship. I rely now on people in my family now that relationships have been restored. Now I know what I can. Certain people don't get the recovery aspect of things, so I know who I can talk to about what. But I know that I need to talk to somebody. But I say, take my
right.
will. My will is, baby, if I did what I wanted to do, we already know how that would be. But then I take it a step further and take my life. What did you
Yes.
create me to do? Because, but and where I am now is I want my will and my life to align.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I
and
wasn't trying to say the whole prayer because I wasn't
well,
sure
no,
what we're allowed to
no,
say.
no, you can, but I'm just saying for me. I'm just saying
Yeah.
for me. We didn't say anything. It's just a 12-step program. That's it. Whatever. We're not promoting anything. We're just talking about our experience. Um,
Yeah.
but I just know that where I am right now, for me, I'm starting to understand how the things that I have believed my whole entire life, the things that have sustained me, I don't have to let go of those, but I see how I get to have the enrichment of how I have believed what I do believe. There's a coming together of the two, and I see how they are related, and it just elevates
Yeah.
me to a place where I'm able to do things like this. Like I'm so comfortable in my own skin right now. Um, like just how things align, how things synchronize. I say higher power, which my higher power is God, and I'm not afraid to say that. But I do know that there are people who come in the room, and I want you to talk about this a little bit. That come into the rooms, or come into recovery, and they have a problem with God. Now I have an answer, but I want to know your answer to this. Why do you think that some people come into um, recovery based programs and have an issue or have a problem with God?
I mean, that's even hard for me to answer. Because I've
Why
struggled with it,
why is that?
it's changed over all the years, but even recently I said to my sponsor, like, why did they put God in the one step and not just whatever word I was trying to say that was like not, and she was like, why are you reading so much into it? Like, why is it bothering you that the word is there? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. Um, I don't, maybe past trauma, like, I mean, you even know that, like, I know your experience with that growing up. I remember me sitting in the church every Sunday going to CCD, uh, and all that stuff growing up. And to me, it was just like, you're
Well,
going to hell. You're going to hell. I'm going
you
to hell.
there it is. Now I never ask a question that I don't pretty much have an answer to. I have a book now that I haven't cracked the first page yet to read it, but the title of the book, I bought the book simply because of the title. It says "When Bad Christians Happen to Good People." Um, Raised in the church, um, the relationship with God for me, like I've never hated God, but I've always hated religion. I think I said that earlier. But if I'm always being told that, the God that I know to be loving and kind and gracious and merciful and compassionate and all the wonderful things I need him to be, forgiving if I didn't say that, if all I ever heard is that I was going to hell, I was actually, I had to hold on to what I believed, not what everybody believed for me, but I had to hold on to what I believed. And I think that a lot of people with various traumas and everything else, the places that they should have received nurture and the people and places that should have been representative of that God
Right.
failed them. So that's kind of where I was going with that. But what is your life like now? Let's talk about that. What is life like for Nicole now? I know what it's like, but I want you to tell people what it's like.
Life is good.
Now,
Um,
why is life good?
I mean, why isn't it good? Um,
You tell me.
no, I mean, for one, I'm just super, like, I just try to, like, stay super grateful, like, I'm not in that desperate, dark spot. I didn't have to wake up and use, I mean, I still struggle with my depression and all that, but for the most part, I can get up and try to get myself together and, do what I'm supposed to do.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, my life is just completely different. I mean, and if it wasn't, I would be using. Like, if my life didn't change, I wouldn't be here. Like, I wouldn't see the point of doing it if it didn't change.
So what's
Like,
your relationship like with your kids now?
oh, they're good. So I don't even think I told you I got the court date. It's in May, for the custody. So that'll be happening this summer. So actually before we started, I was about to start moving furniture around, but I don't really think I need to do all that yet. Me
You're
projecting.
always you're always thinking ahead. Be in the moment, Nicole. Be
I
in the
know.
moment.
I know. But I was actually thinking, I'm like, I have so many clothes and I have, my room and then I have their room and I have an office and that's 3 rooms and every closet is filled with my clothes. So I was
Yeah,
like, damn.
it's
I
time
was
to
like,
do
I
some.
gotta go through my clothes because I need to make room for their clothes.
Yeah, I was about to say it's time to do some spring cleaning because
And that's the crazy part is I do that and then I have clothes in totes in the other room because I don't want to get rid of them because I bought them, one, and I like them too, just because I don't wear them. I mean, my size has gone up and down in all the years. So in my head, I'm like, well, if I lose the weight, this will fit me again, and I haven't worn it in 2 years, so it'll still be nice. And the insanity is still there. It's just on a different level
yes,
now,
yes.
you know?
And it's funny because let me tell you, this is how I go about that same process you just described. Like whether it's clothes or whether it's mail that because I'm notorious. If I see my mail, if I can tell what's important and what's not. But if
Yeah.
it's something that I overlooked, just whatever the case may be, if it's laying there, if I haven't looked at it in a month or two, when I'm cleaning, I'm like, if I haven't looked at it in this long, it's not important. I toss it.
Oh my God, I'm the opposite. As soon as I get the mail every day, I open it. If my name's on it, I open it, and then if it has Jimmy's name, I put it in a pile and I put it in either right there or in his office in front of his
But
computer.
I got to work on that because I'm so not like that. And so when
I
I get
have to
home,
open it. Like it's like when you get an Amazon package.
right, right.
As soon as
But
I
with
got
my
home today, rip.
speaking of Amazon, I was a little irritated because you remember I told you I ordered the new microphone, the blue Yeti,
Yeah.
which is actually black. So I don't know why they just didn't call it a black Yeti. It was supposed to get here today, but then they updated the shipping information and said that it won't arrive until Thursday. So I had to practice some acceptance. I was like, whatever. Thursday will be here in 3 days, so whatever. But yeah, and you were talking about the clothes. Like I can relate because I got some. You remember the little? Okay, so when I came into this process,
Trust me, I know. Cause I mean, you've seen me at my like highest weight. I think when I met you, I was at my thickest, and I came here like 110 pounds. So hello, and
I
I've
was
gotten all the way
160.
up to 200. So
I
that's
was
a big difference.
162. I got on the scale this morning, and we're talking 223. So we're talking
Mhm.
about 38 plus 23 is 61.
Yeah. So I
I'm
actually weighed
getting.
myself today, and I was actually pleasantly surprised.
I mean, I don't mind the weight. But I've never had a stomach, and the weight that I carry in my stomach, it is like messing with my lower back a little bit. But that's okay because we focus on solutions, not problems. I'm getting a gym membership this week.
Funny, my co-worker at work was about to go to the gym after work, and he's like, "Do you want to come with me?" And I was like, "I won't today." And I was like, "But actually, I will go tomorrow with you." So I'm gonna try that. He's like, "Yeah, just do cardio, blah blah." And he's like 60s. When I tell you, like, I'm like, wow, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's the beautiful thing that I can say about my process too, is that there are things what I don't like about myself, I change, but I make sure I'm changing it because I don't like it. If somebody else doesn't like something about me, that's okay, that's your problem. Why don't you like it? I had somebody say something one day, like, because you were talking about the clothes. You remember my jeans that I used to wear, the ones that had the rips in them and everything. I was so cute in those jeans. I still got them, right? Baby. It's like I need to go ahead and retire.
Now I fit. The
I just lost your sound. Women, say it again because you lost your sound for a minute.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can.
Now you can hear me?
Yes.
That's so weird. I didn't even do anything. No, I said I have a black pair of jeans like that I haven't been able to fit in like a year, and I fit them now. And I was like, I put them on last week, and I was like, oh my god, my pants.
And I guess I hold on to those things because that's my marker that if I can get back
That
into this,
too. Yeah.
but I mean, but you know me, I have given a lot of stuff away, like just, and I don't like talking about stuff like that because I believe if you do something, you do it from the heart, and I'm only sharing it now because I mean, I
Yeah,
it's
no, and
for real.
that's the crazy part too, is because you were talking about like, oh, it's time to spring clean. I literally do that every couple of months. Like, I've given bags of clothes to women's halfway houses. I'll go to Goodwill, and I do that every like 3, 4 months because I am always cleaning. Like, I am still very OCD. Like, you've seen my house. Like, you know?
Right,
So, I mean, I stay doing that, but it's still like apparently unmanageable.
right. And it's funny because there are sometimes I'll come inside and I'll just be like, you know what, I've had enough. And I just go through and it's like, I don't care what, because my thing is I have sentimental attachments.
That too. And I try to tell myself, like, people have said like, "Oh, if you haven't worn it in a year, you're probably not going to wear it again." That's kind
Yeah,
of
that's true.
true.
That's true, but I'm like this. If I haven't worn it in a year, it's gonna be a vintage one.
And that's when I'm like, "Okay, so I have to work towards getting to
And then when I wear it, look, and
child
then when I wear
stop."
it 3 years later, people are like, "Oh, where'd you get that from? That's the latest fashion." No, honey, this is a resurgence.
No, no,
But no,
no.
I don't know what else I wanted to ask you. We've been talking now 51 minutes, and it's crazy because I kind of I love the format. I love how it goes, and I
I
and I
mean,
think
there's a lot we could talk about. Honestly, I wanted to talk about too is like other women, like, or like for guys, the guys, like for me, the I didn't really I had, I want to say, like, two good girlfriends in New Jersey when I was using, and even in them certain times that I like fucked them over, I was still friends with them. um
mhm,
but that was a big issue in the beginning, right? And like, if it wasn't for the women that I have in my life today and throughout these years, that was a big part. When we were talking about like the halfway and stuff, I was thinking about that. Like, man, it's just crazy, all the surrendering. So crazy. But yeah, I
I always
definitely,
just beat
it's the
LSU.
people, the people.
Mhm. Yeah, I was saying I would just beat LSU. I just had to pick my phone up. My TV was on in the background, and I was going to leave it on because my other recording software, you could never see the TV in the background. So I was going to keep turning back, checking the score of the game. But no, I kept checking it on my phone. But LSU lost, and I'm grateful. I'm glad. Now
Why?
we got now we got to play NC State Friday night. Hopefully we beat them, and I don't know who plays or who wins between UConn and Southern Cal. I have a feeling Juju Watkins, and I'm saying like I'm speaking Swahili to you now because I know you're like Marvin. Who are you even
I'm
talking
not playing. I'm not following no more. And it's crazy because I used to know so much about sports. I loved watching football
about? And
and
see, that was
college basketball, actually, but
when I
not
was
no more.
using, like everybody who knows anything about me, even when I was using and I lived at home, I was always watching sports. But when I moved to South Florida in 2017, girl, like all the TV shows, I quit watching TV. But it's because I went from the country basically to a big city. And it was like there was so much to do and so much to see, and I didn't have
Yeah,
enough time to see it. And I'm like, I gotta see this, and I gotta see that, and I gotta do this, and I gotta do that. Like I don't live here. You know what I'm saying? Like now,
yeah,
I remember, I live 2.5 hours from the beach back home, and to go to the beach back home in South Carolina is like everybody. That's like it's the big thing to do. Like every year, that's the vacation, or multiple times a year. That's the
I
spot.
know, coming from Jersey, like, you either go to Atlantic City or Florida, and that's like your vacation. And when I lived there, like, I always dreamed of living here. Like, sometimes when I'm not feeling okay, I can look at a palm tree, and if I'm really like, and then I look, I'm like, I'm here. Like,
And so
I
now
made it.
here I am in a beach city, and I go to the beach as often as I can. But like the way that I used to go when I was back home, girl, like
Yeah, it was like an hour ish, hour 15. I could get there in like 50 minutes the way I drive, but
I
yeah,
could do it. It's 2.5 hours for me, but I cut that down to an hour 45 minutes.
yeah, I could get to the beach in like an hour, but we wasn't doing that,
Right.
I wasn't doing that. I'm using.
But the thing about it is, the key takeaway is that I want people to, not just hear the difference, but see the difference. Because people, if people don't
Yeah.
use drugs, they know what drug addicts look like. They don't look like this. They don't look like you. They look emaciated and despondent and
Yeah,
depressed.
I mean, if you wanted to, we could try to post one of my pictures.
I'm sure we could. I got one. I got a couple of pictures somewhere.
Yeah, my two pictures. Oh my God, they're so bad.
I keep those. Look, I keep those for myself.
I've posted them before. I have. I remember like when I had 2 years, I posted it, and then even this time around, I'm like, from this time, you know what I mean? Because I have them two
Right.
main pictures, and they're bad. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. I have a job. I kind of feel like I have a career right now. Like
Right.
I have a nice house. I can pay my bills on time. I'm not
Mhm.
living off of the state. Like
And it's
I'm
amazing
in a
that
good relationship, like that's
Mhm.
healthy with like another clean addict, like it's just crazy. And we get to like bounce off each other. Like I didn't feel like going to the meeting the other day. And he's like, but it's our home group. And I'm like, yeah, but I just don't want to go. And he's like, it doesn't matter if you want to go. He's like, you got to go. It's your home group. You might see somebody there that needs to see you. Like, it's not about you. And I'm like, but don't you know it is about me?
that's the Leo in you coming out. But it's funny because even hearing them say that though, it's like because we always say the two most important meetings that you can go to is number one, the meeting that you don't want to go to, and number two, the meeting that you do want to go to. And it's like the time that we get that time by doing what we have to do and not what we want to do.
Right.
If I do what I have to do today, I can do what I want to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, that's just kind of what sustained me. And then not only that, I'm just one of those people that I just love people. And it's funny because I feel like I have a family now. Like I always had a family. I mean,
Yeah.
duh, we know that. But what I'm saying is you have to be in a particular fellowship such as this to understand what I mean. When I
Right.
say I feel like I have a family, and I haven't been home now in 3 years. I love my family. I miss them. And finances, scheduling, jobs, stuff like that hadn't allowed me to go, which I'm setting aside. I'm going home this year. I'm going home. And I'll make sure if
Yeah.
y'all are watching, people back in the Carolinas, I'm coming home. I
You
don't know
putting
when
it
I'm
out in the
coming home.
universe now. So,
I'm manifesting it. I'm coming to the Carolinas. I want to come twice.
yes, baby. Yes.
Everybody's like, Marvin, are you going to World this year? You know what? World is every 6 years. I'll catch the next World convention. And I'm okay saying that because financially priorities, recovery has taught me that I want to see my family. And I don't have the finances to go to DC, turn right around after DC, do the convention here. And then after that, turn right around in
I
November,
literally just looked it up. It's the end of August.
August 29th to September the 2nd. So I mean, and then you got to think Thanksgiving is coming up right after that, and then right after that, Christmas
It
is coming up.
is. It's
No,
always something.
that,
For me, my whole thing is it's April 1st. May, I gotta fly. It's my son's birthday, and 2 days later is my court date. So that worked out perfectly. That was like literally what I kept thinking in my head. Like I hope his birthday is not the first week of May, and then I have to go the end of May and take more time. You know what I mean? So that happened perfectly, and then the next month is June and I'll be going back,
to
right?
get
And
them,
like
yeah.
so, I was just planning that. Like I'm gonna fly there and then probably get like a U-Haul, pack up their stuff, and we're gonna take a road trip. Cause I was
Yeah,
saying like, Jimmy, I really wish you could come with me in May. And I was like, but I was like, I really need you to come with me in June because that's a lot of driving. And I was like, I want to make it a road trip.
yeah,
Like, so that'll be cool. So
yeah.
that's what I'm like looking forward to right now.
Well, guess what, Nicole? We have rambled on for 59 minutes and 41 seconds, and we didn't give them the full totality of Marvin and Nicole when we get together. I tried to keep it
I
cute and keep it professional, but they
yes,
don't want us
sir.
together. They don't want us.
Ye-
They don't us together. That's quite a number. But I really appreciate you for sharing your story.
I love you, of course,
You know I love you too. You've been a very important part of my recovery process. So
as you have
grateful
for
to you for
me.
that. And before we go, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Oh
If there's
God,
somebody out there who is struggling, whether it's male or female, what advice would you give them?
closed mouths don't get fed. Speak up, because I suffered in silence for a long time
Yeah,
and like sat in denial, like that self honesty piece. Like even when maybe I knew it, and then you just pack that away. I'll deal with it later. But like no, like it's okay to ask for help.
absolutely. And it's
Yeah,
okay to say that you're not okay.
exactly.
That's it. Nicole, I love you.
I love you
Ladies and
more.
gentlemen, this has been another episode of The Chop with Marvin Lee with my lovely friend Nicole A. Again, next Monday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 8:39, somewhere up in there. But I want you to be kind to yourselves this week. Be kind to somebody else. Love yourself. Love somebody else. Do something sweet, nice for yourself. Do something nice and sweet for somebody else. Again, this has been, I don't know what episode number because I stopped numbering them. I'm just giving names. Nicole A.
Good.
and Marvin. Thank y'all for joining me. Nicole, thank you for being a part. I love you. I'll see you
Love
tomorrow.
you. Thank
Everybody else,
you.
I'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Love you.